This podcast is brought to you by the School of Advanced Study, University of London.
Okay, good morning everyone. My name's Michael Eads. I'm the Cultural Context Research Fellow here in the School of Advanced Study. I just want to welcome you to the school and to Senate House and to the centre of Bloomsbury. I wrote my notes last night, or yesterday afternoon. I put welcome to sunny Bloomsbury, but it's absolutely bucketing it down, so to scrap that. It's fantastic to see so many people here today. Some of you I know and some of you I don't. It's great that there's so many people here who've actually had an active involvement in the project that has brought this about, which is the Bloomsbury Festival in a Box, Engaging Socially Isolated People with Dementia project. I'm going to talk more about that at some length in a little while, so I won't say too much now. But this has been a project which has been a 9-month project here in the School of Advanced Study. It's been a collaboration with the school, the Bloomsbury Festival, AHRC-Camden, UCL, and it's been also a project which has brought us into collaboration with a whole community of artists and creative people, and also local people in the community. I'm hoping we're going to get a little flavour of some of the perspectives that have been brought into that project throughout the course of the day. I'm going to hand over in a minute to our first two speakers. We've been incredibly lucky today to get a really high quality selection of speakers, people who are working in the arts and dementia, or in understanding the arts and culture generally and the social uses and values of that. The first speaker we're going to have on is Veronica Franklin Gould, who is founder and chief executive of Arts for Dementia, who've been doing some really inspiring work working with people with dementia in London. And if you haven't already had a look at their evaluation, I really highly recommend that. That was something that was very useful to me in this project. And then following Veronica, we're going to hear a few words from Professor Jeffrey Krawczyk, who is Distinguished Professor of the Humanities in the School of Advanced Study and Director of the AHRC's Cultural Value Project, of which the Festival in the Box project is one very small part. So he will say a few words about why the use of the arts for people with dementia is of interest to that project. Just a couple of quick housekeeping things. If you need to go to the loo at any point, they're just outside, just across the way there. And please do tweet throughout the day using our hashtag here, which is FIAB, which is Festival in a Box 2014. It'd be really nice to create an even broader discussion. Okay, so without further ado, I'll hand over to Veronica. You got your PowerPoint.
That's it. Oh, can I just...
This one?
No, that one. Oh, gosh. Right. Are you here? I'm sorry, I said Lucia. I should be.
Oh, it's fine. Okay.
And what do I use to...
Yes, use those. So... Yeah, just use the cursors there. Okay.
Shall I come up here or sit down? What?
Lectern.
Good morning. how many of you are connected with somebody with dementia at the moment? And of those, how many recently in the early stages? Thank you very much. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Arts for Dementia, and before I give the paper, I'll just quickly tell you how and why it was founded. I am a daughter of somebody with dementia. I'm an art historian and was putting on an exhibition at the time of Tennyson that a cellist who was studying at the Guildhall, can you hear? Well, this is in the room, isn't it? Who was, came to play to my mother, and I sat in as carer. And he played exquisite Bach. He played into her eyes. He played for an hour, and I was absolutely gobsmacked. She was 7 years into her diagnosis with Alzheimer's, and her normal, natural instincts returned. She started interviewing him about music and about education and youth and everything like that. And then afterwards, gradually afterwards, all that interest went. But to actually see her natural instincts, responses return, I set about researching for a few years and put on a few pilots. But that is actually how the evidence of that is how Arts for Dementia was born. I'm going to talk to you today about, so we became a charity in 2011 and very swiftly had a huge programme across London. We're now national, but we had a huge programme across London covering all the art forms at arts venues. And the idea is to re-energise and inspire people. And I was writing about an artist, G.F. Watts, it was published by Yale, the last great Victorian. He was someone who used to exhibit in the East End, and when his colleagues, Leighton, Burne-Jones, etc., lent pictures, they didn't always lend their best pictures because they were lending to the slums, they might get damaged. And indeed, one of Watts's did have a poker through it. But he used to send the best because he felt that they had a longer way to come up. They were, really in a depressed age. They needed to be raised up much higher. I tend to feel that people with dementia have got this film that we need to lift the fog, and therefore all the more important to inspire them as well as we possibly can. We were giving some training yesterday and somebody accused me of being elitist. She was quite right to do so. We're not elitists, we just want to do the best we possibly can. It's actually the person who is inspiring. If you have an inspiring workshop leader, it doesn't matter actually where they hold their workshops. They could hold them in a basement, but so long as they make the space artistic and inspirational. Anyway, so I'm going to tell you about Arts for Dementia's learning and participation programme at arts venues, and also university. We have one at university, the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama, which helps re-energise families embarking on their journey with dementia. Arts for Dementia, or we can call it A for D for short, is a British charity using artistic stimulation to bridge the provision gap. Bridge the provision gap from diagnosis. At present, what you have is you wait perhaps 6 months for your diagnosis. Now, this is also suited for people awaiting diagnosis. You wait perhaps 6 months for your diagnosis. Then after diagnosis, you may be lucky enough to have some cognitive stimulation therapy, but you may not. And you're left, whether you have it or you don't, you're left pretty well to your own devices for another 6 months. And as you all know, because you're all experts in the field, you know how it is, how stressful it is for people at home and for their carers. And they don't know that their creative instincts, their natural creative instincts, can be relatively undamaged for years. So we set up a London-wide pilot programme of weekly workshops covering art, dance, drama, music, photography and poetry. And the 17 projects proved life-transforming for participants, and inspired by them, the evaluation is named Reawakening the Mind. This is what it looks like. It's downloadable from the Arts for Dementia website, so you don't want to take a heavy great thing home. Participants found workshops exhilarating, a very important outlet because I am interacting. Mum's cognition, this was the important one, showed a massive improvement. One would expect her to be tired, but she is active. It's part of being something again. And as you'll see, this is quantitative as well as qualitative evidence we'll show you. As creative skills, imaginative and emotional responses can remain vibrant for years after onset of dementia, A4D demonstrates that dynamic artistic engagement helps to maximise cognitive function, to restore self-esteem, sense of purpose, shared family interests, and the ability to enjoy life in the community. A4D offers training around the country for arts facilitators to set up these re-energising arts workshops. But today I'm going to discuss the evidence gathered from our wide-ranging London programme. Guided by Professor Paul Kamich, Professor of Psychology and Public Health at Canterbury Christchurch University, Reawakening the Mind shows the efficacy of each arts activity in restoring well-being and guides and provides a resource to help develop the A4D learning stream. It sets out the culture and health framework to provide the springboard to improve the lives of families facing a diagnosis of dementia. Well, the culture and health framework changes all the time as memory services wonderfully improve. They sort of got an awful lot worse while we were doing that, and it was really worrying. So we've covered all of those activities. I think we've done all that. So to set the context, the New York Museum of Modern Art's 2009 evaluation Meet Me programme established the efficacy of visual art for people in the early stages of dementia. World Alzheimer reports and this government promote earlier diagnosis. Ever more people are being diagnosed. Conscious that their brain is degenerating, they and their loved ones face a daily struggle with the stresses of dementia, difficulty with communication, reading, writing, lower confidence, isolation, as friends and colleagues drift away. Yet not ready for a day centre, they need and deserve to be part of society. A4D's re-energising workshops are intended to draw out what participants can still achieve, to celebrate their still active cultural interests and abilities across the art forms. Projects that we're going to talk about were for person and carer together. This really is ideal. As stimulation and quality time during and between workshops, where ideas are given for enjoyable practice at home and to enable the person with dementia to arrive and leave without stress. London Arts. In the spirit of the Olympics, A4D's London Arts Challenge was named to achieve inclusion in the London Arts Inspire programme and to reflect the dynamic nature of the stimulation. 119 weekly workshops were provided over the course of a year at museums, dance studios, theatres and concert halls, with art trips on the Angel Canal boat and workshops as part of the, and this is quite key, Royal Central School of Speech and Drama's MA Applied Theatre course. To me, it's really, really important to include education because we're bridging a gap, so we need to spread the practice. And God, they really were exciting, those drama projects with international students to spread the practice. To underpin the programme, A4D developed an early stage focus to the awareness training offered by Dementia UK. We're now doing this with the Alzheimer's Society. To clarify for arts facilitators and volunteer arts students and practitioners the communication needs, challenges and still existing abilities of participants. Attendees with experience of more advanced dementia learn to think afresh about the person rather than their condition and their ability to interact, revive and develop creative skills. For referrals, we contacted the local memory service, clinic, community mental health team and care services. I must admit it was then a real struggle. You know, it was really difficult to get. They'd say, "Oh, wonderful, but we're short of resources." So reaching people at home is a challenge, but actually they're getting so much better because there is so much more interest now. But in 2012, it was a struggle, and I must admit I wept one day when I'd raised all that money for poetry at Putney Library and nobody, turned up. And when they did turn up, they said, we wish we'd noticed, we wish we'd been told about you. But, you know, there were changes in the community mental health teams, and however much you go and talk to them, you can only do as much as you can. But it's so much better now. 128 participants with dementia and 106 carers attended the workshops. Some were not in the early stages, which we called roughly within 3 years of diagnosis. Now, I know you can be diagnosed at any time, but you get the gist of what people need when they're still in denial, perhaps, or they don't want to go to a day centre, they don't want to be thought of as people with dementia. Well, of course they don't, nobody wants that, but you know, they really, really don't want to be. So everything you do has to be something you passionately want to do. So every course that we set up, it had to be something that would fire us, something cutting edge, some strength to it, not do-gooding. Sorry, I know you know that, but each course then was run weekly over in this programme, 3 to 10 weeks. Obviously, you want it to be ongoing. 1 to 2 hours with and never refreshments at the beginning, always at the end with your evaluation, because people, they don't, as we say, don't want to be do-gooded, they want to get on with it, they want to do the art, they want to be straight away, otherwise the dementia will come down again. So, and ideally led by the same arts facilitator and assisted by 2 or 3 volunteer postgraduates studying that particular art form, because it means that if you've got a drama project and the workshop leader is working with one couple, it doesn't have to be the same carer, it could be somebody else's carer, but while he's focusing on, or she is focusing on that couple, the volunteers who've been briefed will give informed advice, not just say, "Oh, would you like to do this?" but "Have you tried?" and and ideas spark between them. They were aimed for 6 participants with dementia, each accompanied by a carer, family, friend, or professional. Because the carer, of course, could be good fun outing, just like you want to go to a show with a friend or go to an exhibition, do a project together. It doesn't have to be take your dear, In the event, there were 3 to 11 participants with dementia per course, most accompanied by a carer. Workshops aim to be challenging but achievable, person-centred and rewarding for all. Please forgive me if some of these things are so terribly obvious to you. It's just, better to say it probably. Mindful that participants may have long experience in the art form, but that their thought processes are affected, A4D asks for an interactive warm-up or discussion to start with, to break through the dementia and release their creative impulse. A brief introduction, say, around a masterpiece, to set the context and engage interest, can spark creative responses. Now, for example, at Dulwich Picture Gallery, I think are we talking about Dulwich Front? Yes. This wonderful chap, Ben Senior, took us to a kite. Actually, Ben was a perfect example. He came to talk to us, he came to our training, he really made sure he had a good understanding of people facing a new diagnosis. He then took us to a kite, and he told us, briefly about kite, famous for cows, 18th century, oil and everything. And it just happened that Hazlitt said that this was the best example of a kite in the world. Well, now, isn't that nice for somebody with dementia? I don't mean that remotely patronising. It's just that when you're low, to actually be looking at the best example in the world is fab. It's like going to see the Mona Lisa, or that wonderful video of David Beckham, which I can't resist seeing every time I go to the National Portrait Gallery. Anyway, so very quickly he gave me the basic details about the picture. And now, Michael, what do you think about this? And what do you think he's trying to do here? And so this is not calling on memory. A quick 7-minute, I would say, 7 to 10 minute discussion around a picture, always the person's name and eye contact, gets them going. If you don't give the person's name, I know that's the most basic thing to say, but if you don't give the person's name, you're just going to get no people with dementia responding. And it was, so he then said, now after they'd all had they all no sense of dementia anyway. Now I just want you to look at that bit of forgotten the word. Oh God, atmosphere there, and we're going to go back into the studio, and we're going to create washes. And it was just these washes were something, it was such a brilliant idea, because whether you were a fantastic artist or a beginner, you could do things with this. And of course at the end, I'm sure I'm going to talk about that later, so I really should go on about it, but at the end of the day, every person's artwork, the best aspect of it was discussed. So you came out with this gorgeous feeling. So focus questions to participants, clearly addressed by name and with eye contact, and terribly important, allow time to regulate thoughts, to help build confidence and encourage the exchange of ideas between participants. It's better to warn about against reading and writing, warn that reading and writing may cause difficulty. Some people, perhaps with dementia, with frontotemporal, actually don't have problem with reading and writing, we found, but just to beware in the failure-free aspect, that it may cause difficulty, but it's actually probably quite a good idea to try, but be mindful that it may cause difficulty. And of course, we're all, as academics, we love introductions. No long introductions, really brief and to the point. Give the respect of the information, but not long introductions. These are fine for carers, but they do trouble people with Alzheimer's. And for stimulation between sessions, ideally for daily practice, you could draw each other's portraits, or a theme that evolves from people's workshops. So they could draw each other's portrait, photograph each other, or an object, or practice a dance step, a vocal or drama exercise, anything that's going to take their mind off, worrying if something's been stolen, or, Each workshop was intended to be, or whatever someone is worrying about. There is an awful lot of worrying that goes on at home. Each workshop was intended to be fulfilling in itself, to generate a sense of personal achievement. But some projects also worked towards a final display or performance. And by heaven, those really are good. People really knuckle under. It's a terrific atmosphere. We filled in some 1,000 evaluation questionnaires, interviewing each person with dementia and carer together as to whether the arts activity had enhanced their quality of life, were they reviving creative skills, developing new ones, feeling better, more confident, more energetic, keener to socialise. So now we talk about the evidence. Music was, not surprisingly, found to transcend all art forms, followed closely by art and drama. It's the first time I've listened to 2 violins. The sound was overwhelming. It's given me the get up and go. I think we better move on with some of these. Just to give you an idea. Those were who came. I'm so sorry I didn't show these. So arts teams noted the performance of participants with dementia. On average, 95% were seen to be both more confident and more creative. All this information, incidentally, can be downloaded, if you don't want to write it down, from here, from this report. It's www.artsforddementia/reawakening report, but you can see it on the website. So, art teams noted the performance of participants with dementia. On average, 95% were seen to be both more confident and more creative. Music and drama topped the charts, with 100% improvement in confidence and creativity. In the art projects, those without Alzheimer's retained drawing skills and responded well to new techniques, but the drawing ability of those with Lewy bodies and frontotemporal dementia had been affected. Every bit as engaged, they were more interested in the technique and interactive dialogue around the pictures. One diagnosed with Lewy bodies 2 years earlier coped better with drama than with art. Dance was extremely effective. The lower figure for confidence reflects one particular participant who had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's 6 years earlier and was losing the power to coordinate, and another with mild cognitive impairment who arrived tired and alone. Interestingly, another who had long had Alzheimer's discovered an inbuilt talent even so. "The space here is fantastic," he said. "One can be free and explore different movements. The studio exudes energy." The physicality of dance and music and the drama workshop exercises and improvisation may account for higher figures, Yet museum or art and media figures are high still, owing to the sense of achievement through the artwork itself. On enhanced cognitive functioning, carers observed that after the workshops, their loved ones remained cheerful, more alert, sociable, less tired or less aggressive, and slept better. 94% remained energized overnight, 84% for 2 days, 80% for 3 days, 60% for a week or more. That's a very interesting result, because it means that weekly activities could do a lot of good. Because only carers of those whose condition had deteriorated over 5 years noted no lasting effects, this would suggest that A4D's vigorous approach is specifically effective for the early stages of dementia. The physical and emotional stimulation of music and dance project lifted the spirits the longest, encouraged participants to sing and dance at home. More challenging vocal exercises, such as dominant sense, were well within grasp, not too demanding on memory, or expanding the diaphragm, bringing more oxygen to the brain. We feel better, and if you add to that music, it lifts your spirits. Art workshops provided energizing collaboration, raised self-esteem at the time, but being less physical, for some participants, the energizing effects wore off earlier. All participants strongly agreed that the workshops had enhanced their lives. They were inspired by the art settings and creative challenge, and motivated by working with talented artists and performers. The talented artist is probably more important than the venue, but the venue is terribly, terribly good. I remember when we started our pre-pilot at the Wallace Collection, seeing this woman looking tired and whatever, as she walked as she approached the door of the Wallace Collection, as she went in, and she just got to it. You see that wonderful, you see that staircase, you see that the lovely stubs, and you see wonderful artwork. She was suddenly where she always used to be. So I shouldn't say that, but when I was yesterday accused of being elitist, I won't forget that woman's face as she walked in after a difficult journey. They were inspired by the art settings and creative challenge, motivated by working with talented artists and performers. On average, 91% of participants with dementia felt better in themselves, 84% that they were reviving creative skills, 81% more confident, 75% more energetic, keen, and 75% also keener to socialise. Of course, some hadn't lost this ability. And 73% felt that they were developing new skills. Wow, that's what we want, don't we? All the time, to develop new skills. The highest scores in dance and drama, I just want to see if... No. Okay, the highest scores in dance and drama reflect vigorous warm-up exercises. The mental and physical activity in pairs, not necessarily their own partners. The fun of constant movement to music generated a dynamic, warm atmosphere. Participants responded to challenging vocal exercises and embraced the opportunity to dance and, surprisingly, to read poetry. The high percentage who develop new skills across the art forms is notable. So, to benefit from both enhanced self-esteem and more vigorous state of mind, we of course recommend a combination of art forms. I mean, ideally, dance on Monday, art on Tuesday, music on Wednesday, media on Thursday, drama on Friday. The shared impact for carers was important. Their restored lives together, camaraderie and collaboration at the workshops was invigorating for all. Working closely with participants in the early stages of dementia gave new insight for workshop leaders and volunteers. There is much more to research, but the great thing is that for every course A4D put on, 3, or that we propose as well, 3 more can develop thanks to the volunteer arts students. Outcomes. Sorry, I haven't written it down. Participants were restored to fulfilling social interactivity, or revived or developed new creative skills. Carers relieved from stress enjoyed socialising in a cultural environment with loved ones and other families with dementia. Workshop leaders, facilitators and volunteers, enlightened by A4D training, gained new insight through practical experience. And of course the participants are continuing their arts activities. Our Reawakening the Mind sets out guidance for developments of A4D learning streams at arts venues. And I must admit, the website too will do that. Well-being outcomes. Cognitive changes observed by carers show that regular re-energising arts activities enables families to live better with dementia, to enjoy creative life together and sense of purpose in the community for longer. I haven't got the 5 ways slide up, but connect. All now feel less isolated, have groups of friends and are restored to active cultural life. Most arts organisations are continuing the workshops. Their cultural and health framework is accessible through Reawakening the Mind and the A4D website. 99% be active, 99% feel more fulfilled, 89% more confident. Take notice, 97% see that engaging in arts activities overrides memory worries and that their creative skills are still vibrant. 99% see that continuing arts activities will enrich their lives. Keeping on learning. 40 arts facilitators, workshop leaders, 11 volunteer art students attended our then Dementia UK training. 84% feel that they have learned new skills, and 99%, as we said, will continue to develop their art wherever they can. Carers who share and do all they can to ease the difficulties their loved ones and clients face through dementia found that arts offer a constructive way for them to preserve a fulfilling, active life together in the community. You're thinking and not worrying. Some arts organisations plan to offer training sessions for carers. Volunteers who give so much at workshops plan to spread the practice. That's what we need. Enfin, it works. And actually, of course, so many other people in the room are doing this sort of thing, and, you know, fantastic. We hope that this has given you some idea of the energising effects of dynamic arts activities. Quality is all important for people facing memory tests, etc. The intergenerational spring of talented young art students keen to develop their career adds to the dynamism and imaginative joy of the workshops. Reawakening the Mind provides a workshop resource by art form, and the Alzheimer's Society is now working with A4D to provide training at arts venues nationwide. Now, the website signposts activities all over the country. Well, it's capable of signing activities all over the country. The Arts for Dementia website is going to be properly launched on the 19th of May. That is going to be our Free Your Mind Day, at which we would love to encourage everybody all over the country to bring loved ones, colleagues, anybody you know with dementia, to a performance, to an exhibition, to anything cultural, and photograph or film them doing it, because that way, and upload your activities together through Arts for Dementia at Free Your Mind Day, because that way we can help obliterate or stigma, because it's all very well to have exhibitions of artwork by people with dementia. That is actually putting a lot of pressure on people with dementia who might feel embarrassed that their art isn't as good as it used to be. But the fact that they are taking part, that they are creating spontaneous, wonderful characterizations and dances and really having the time of their lives and being normal. It's an awful thing to say. We want to be exotic, don't we? But so many of them say, oh, I feel normal. So 19th of May, please do signpost your arts activities on the Arts for Dementia website. It's free. You can do so by location, by art form, by day of the week, in one single upload. And the idea is that wherever you live, people live with dementia in the country, they'll be able to find artistic stimulation close to where they are. We'll then hand the whole lot over to the Alzheimer's Society, and our job will be done. So let's spread this practice. Let's transform the lives of people with dementia. You're working to it so well, but there's even more we can do to make it happen. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry that I'm going to have to go shortly, but I'm coming back so we can. I've got to give another paper. But I am coming back, so I would love to listen to the Professor's next talk, but then I have to go. Thank you for listening.